Darkness surrounded the space station like a thick, silent fog. Outside, stars blinked faintly, cold and distant. Inside, on level 7 of the research wing, Cadet Traxil's screen suddenly flickered. He blinked. The console had gone black for a second, then returned with a strange code scrolling across it. The letters didn't match any known galactic language. Traxil leaned closer. The characters were sharp, angled, old. One word repeated several times. English. He frowned. What's English? He whispered. Traxil was only 18 galactic cycles. Old. A young Zelari cadet, just weeks into his duty shift on Outpost 9, a forgotten satellite near the edge of the quarantine sector. His job was boring: scan passing debris, tag lost cargo, monitor radiation levels. He was not supposed to find anything interesting, but this was different. The signal had come from an old wreck floating just beyond sensor range. It looked like an ancient satellite, one not built by any species currently in the Council. Traxil had locked onto it by accident. At first, he thought it was space junk. Then the file began to download. It bypassed security like it didn't even care. Now, it was on his terminal. Pulsing red, Project Nemesis eyes only. A chill ran down his spine. Traxil tapped the CUM unit.
Commander,
he said, voice shaking slightly. The line cracked with static, then cleared. Yes, Cadet. I found something. File. It's not in any known format. It says English. There was a long pause. Then the voice came back, sharp and cold. Delete it now. Traxil hesitated. But now, Cadet, that's an illegal language, quarantined under Directive 31. You are not authorized to access it. Traxil swallowed hard. Understood. CUM went silent. He stared at the file. The words on screen didn't disappear. They seemed to stare back. Open file. NHI's finger hovered over the console. Sweat dripped from his forehead. One press, that's all it would take. His curiosity burned hotter than fear. He tapped Y. For a second, nothing happened. Then lines of text appeared, sharp and fast. They feared us because they never understood us. So they buried our name, our language, our memory. But we are still here, watching, waiting. Traxil's heart pounded in his chest. He wasn't breathing. He scrolled down. Diagrams appeared of starships, weapons, DNA strands. Everything labeled in English. Is this human? He whispered. He remembered something from training. It's a rumor, a species from long ago. Violent, brilliant, dangerous. Humans, but the Council had wiped all records of them. Said they went extinct in the first collapse. Said they weren't ready for the galactic community. Said they refused to follow rules. Traxil read more. Each sentence made his pulse race faster. They broke our world, so we broke the truth. This file is all that remains. If you are reading this, then the seal is broken. Traxil suddenly felt cold, like someone or something was watching. Behind him, the station lights flickered. He turned to empty hallway. He stood slowly and locked the lab door. His hands trembled as he scrolled further. The file changed. Images now: a burning city, what looked like Earth, a fleet of ships exploding above a blue planet, and finally, a human face, sharp eyes, a scar across the cheek. The figure was smiling. Below it, one sentence. We warned them. They didn't. Listen. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed through the station. He jumped, heart racing. He tapped the CUM again. Commander, are you there? No answer. He tried again. Security, anyone? Only static. Then the lights cut out completely. Red emergency. Lights blinked on. Something wasn't right. He looked at the file again. A countdown had appeared. Deep access unlock in 10 o'clock, 9:59. 9:58. 10 minutes. He didn't know what deep access meant, but it felt big. Too big for a cadet to be messing with. He thought about shutting it down. But another message popped. Up. If you stop now, the truth dies again. If you continue, you accept the cost. He stood frozen. Was this real? Was someone messing with him? He couldn't leave the station, not without authorization. Not during quarantine, but that countdown. Something was going to happen. He sat back down. He would finish what he started. Behind the walls, a low hum began to rise, like the sound of power building. He checked the system, no known source. Then, outside, something moved. He ran to the observation window. There in the distance, the old satellite was no longer drifting. It was turning toward the station. A signal beam locked onto his lab. The screen flared white. Lines of code poured. Across it, the language shifted again from English to Zalari to Galactic Standard to dozens more. All languages, except one. Then a single word remained. Awaken, and the countdown hit 0. The room went silent. No alarms. Only the sound of Traxil's breath. Then a voice, not mechanical, not alien, human. We remember. Do you? The file expanded, showing a map, star systems marked in red, council homeworlds blinking, and a blinking icon marked origin. A sector marked as restricted. One word hovered above it. Earth. Traxil. Backed away from the screen. The last time anyone had spoken that name out loud, it was in court during the last trial of the war criminals who had erased humanity from the war. Record. Why would they hide this? He whispered. He didn't realize he had spoken out loud, the console answered, because the truth was too dangerous to leave behind. His heart thudded like a drum. He looked down at his trembling hands. Then, he looked at the map again. He had a choice. He could delete the file, forget this ever happened, or he could follow the map. Find Earth and discover what really happened to the most feared and forgotten species in the galaxy. He didn't speak. He just stared at the blinking light on the screen. And then, slowly, he reached for the ship access key, because something inside him had already decided. He had to know the truth. Traxil hadn't slept. He sat in the dim light of the shuttle's cabin, staring at the blinking coordinates on his screen. The file was still active. It hadn't closed since the countdown ended. Every few minutes, new data appeared like the file was alive. The last word still echoed in his mind. Earth, he had heard the name only once in school, during a lesson about lost civilizations. The instructor had skipped over it quickly. Earth is not to be studied, they had said. No official record exists. But now it did. It's right in front of him, and it was written in English. Traxil reached out and pressed a key. The screen zoomed. In on the coordinates, the file called it Origin Zone was locked. Labeled as a Level 5 containment sector completely off limits to all civilian and military traffic. No one was allowed to enter. Which meant, of course, that Traxil had to go there. He sighed, gripping the shuttle's control stick. The outpost was silent behind him. He had snuck off in the dead of night using his cadet override codes. He would be court-martialed if caught. Maybe worse. But something deep inside told him this was bigger than the rules. Bigger than the council. Bigger than everything. He tapped. The console again. The human face reappeared on screen, the one with the scar. The man was still smiling, as if he knew Traxil would follow the trail. They erased our name, the file read. But they couldn't erase our legacy. If you've opened this, it means they failed. Failed? Failed at what? Traxil wanted to know more, but the next section of the file was locked. A message blinked. New section unlocked at Origin Zone proximity. He leaned back, staring at the stars outside the window. There were no patrols in this part of space yet. But the closer he got to the Origin Zone, the more dangerous it would become. The Council didn't joke about containment zones. Some said there were ancient weapons still buried in those regions. Others whispered about traps, relics from the collapse, that still activated when anyone came too close. But this wasn't about myths anymore. He had seen real images, real maps, real warnings. And they were all written in English, a language that should not exist anymore. Hours passed. Then, a soft beep. The ship slowed. They had reached the edge of the Origin Zone. Before him floated a graveyard of stars. Broken moons, dead planets, cold, drifting ruins of once living worlds, no light, no heat, just silence. Even his ship's systems began to glitch. The sensors flickered. The navigation screen shook. Gravity readings turned red. Then the file came alive. Text poured across the screen faster than he could read. Then a single line appeared. "Welcome back, Traxil." His blood froze. Back? How? He'd never been here before. No one had. He tried to ignore it, but the next message made his breath catch. "You carry their blood. That's why you're here." "What?" he whispered. He looked at his hand. Smooth skin, celery features. Was it human? Was he? He ran a genetic scan on himself. But before it finished, the ship's AI froze. A new program had taken over. The human file had projected a new map, one showing Earth's last transmission before it vanished. A single, repeating message. "We are not gone. We are only hidden." The file unlocked again. New videos appeared, short clips each no longer than 5 seconds. But each one shocking. A human walking into a council chamber, surrounded by guards, none of them survive. A child reading books in English, floating stones around her with her mind. A human pilot, laughing as he crashes his ship into a war fleet. A scientist, standing in front of a bomb, whispering something. Traxil leaned forward, trying to hear. He played it back. The man in the video looked into the camera and said, "They feared us for a reason." The file continued. "They couldn't kill us, so they buried us. You are the key to unlocking what's next." Traxil's hands shook as he pulled up the original council records. He accessed what little public data existed about Earth. But the council's file simply read, "Species, human status, extinct cause, self-destruction risk level, high, do not approach." That didn't match anything he had just seen. Humans hadn't destroyed themselves. They had gone dark on purpose. He looked out the window again, and then he saw it. Floating among the ruins, a station. Old, circular, built with a design unlike any current species. It was blinking, slowly, like a heartbeat. His ship moved closer. The blinking turned into a signal. Slash, he stared. "What language is that?" The file answered for him, Morse code. "English again," he said. Softly, the station was sending out a file, not forcing its way in like before. It wanted to be found. He accepted the connection. And the file said, "You've passed the first test. Now comes the hard part." Suddenly, alarms blared in the ship. 3 council cruisers had just entered the origin zone. They were scanning for unauthorized activity. They were looking for him. The human file responded. Instantly, it activated stealth systems in his shuttle. Systems Traxil didn't even know he had. The human program had taken control. They were protecting him. He whispered, "Why me?" Another message appeared, "Because you opened the file, because you didn't look away, and because you're part of what comes next." He sat there, breathless. Watching the council ships pass overhead, they didn't see him. They didn't know the file had been opened. They didn't know the truth was waking up. Traxil's heart pounded. He wasn't just reading a lost file anymore. He was part of it. And the humans were not gone, not even close. Traxil stared at the ancient station. It floated quietly in space, deep in the heart of the origin zone. Its metal surface was cracked and scarred. Time had nearly eaten it away, but somehow it was still alive. Lights blinked along its sides. Systems hummed softly. And most strange of all, the signal had not stopped. It kept repeating the same Morse code. File active, file active, file active. His hands hovered over the controls. He had 2 choices. To safety, or dock with the station and uncover more of the truth. He already knew what he was going to do. He guided his ship toward the docking port. A metal ring extended from the side of the station, unfolding like a slow-moving claw. The shuttle slid into place. Metal clanked. Systems locked. Docking complete. Traxil stood and grabbed a small light and a breathing mask. The station's systems were too old for clean atmosphere. His steps echoed inside the airlock as he walked into the ancient human relic. Everything was dark and cold. Dust floated in the air, untouched for centuries. He scanned the walls. English writing everywhere. Authorized access only. Project Nemesis Level 3 security warning. Biological lockdown. He moved deeper into the main chamber. A faint blue glow lit up as he stepped forward. The human file on his datapad pinged. Confirmed presence. Traxil Zalari. DNA match. 13% human. He froze. What? He whispered. Another ping. Hybrid detected. Access granted. He didn't understand. He was Zalari, a native of the Jinn colonies. His parents were scientists. Pure-blooded, that's what they told him. But the file knew something different. A wall screen powered up in front of him. More human images appeared. Cities, people, ships, and finally, a planet with blue oceans and green continents. Earth. Then the voice returned. The same human. Voice from before. If you're hearing this, you made it. That means Protocol Nemesis has been unlocked. A new video played. A man stood on a platform wearing a black uniform with a red insignia. His voice was calm but serious. Knew the galaxy would come for us. We were too strong, too creative, too wild. So when they decided to erase us, we didn't fight. We disappeared. We hid the truth in files like this one. It's only those with our blood could find them again. If you're here, it's time to return. Traxil stepped back, his mind racing. He wasn't just reading a story anymore. He was part of it. Human DNA, hidden files, return. The station lights changed. A doorway unlocked. He walked through a narrow hall and entered a circular room. At the center was a single pod, cryogenic, ancient, and covered in frost. The pad lit up again, its final fragment unlocking. He watched as the pod hissed. Steam poured out. The top lifted slowly. Inside was a body, a human, eyes closed, alive. Traxil's heart raced. He stepped closer. The face matched one from the earlier video clips, the soldier with the scar. The display next to the pod flickered. Name, Captain Elias Ward. Status. Sleep mode. Last command. Await activation notes. Earth's guardian. Final key. The human opened his eyes, bright blue, sharp, aware. He looked straight at Traxil. Did it happen? The man asked, voice rough from sleep. Traxil stuttered. What? The file? Elias said. Did someone open it? Traxil nodded slowly. Yes, I found it. Elias smiled. Then it's time. He sat up, muscles flexing under the frost. Time for what? Traxil asked. The man stood, stepping out of the pod. Time to wake the others. Traxil blinked. Others. Elias pointed to the walls. Panels slid open, revealing 7 more pods, all dark, waiting. All of us were placed in stasis when Earth fell, hidden in different sectors. But only one file was left behind, yours. If it was ever found and opened by the right hands, it would activate all remaining guardians. Traxil's voice trembled. Why me? 'Cause you're the bridge, Elias said. You're proof that humans survived in ways the Council never expected. Didn't die? We evolved, we mixed, we planned, and now we return. Behind them, the wall monitor changed. The human file had expanded again. This time a new section appeared. Protocol Nemesis, Stage 2. Reactivation coordinates blinked on the screen. More stations, more sleeping guardians. Elias turned toward the main control panel and began typing. You're not just part of this now, Traxil. You are this. The Council won't sit quietly. Once they detect we're awake, they'll come with everything they have. What do we do? Traxil asked. We remind them why they buried us in the first place. Suddenly, Traxil's pad beeped. Incoming message, encrypted, from Council Fleet Command. Unauthorized access detected in Forbidden Sector 9 Alpha. Identify yourself immediately. Prepare for immediate capture. Traxil looked at Elias. They found us. Elias smiled. Good. Placed a hand on Traxil's shoulder. You're going to see what humans really are. The lights dimmed. The ship began to shake. Outside, 3 council cruisers closed in. Inside, the old human station powered up. Weapons online. Was charged. The war wasn't over. It had just been. Sleeping? Asked ChatGPT. The deck rumbled beneath Traxil's feet. The old human station, silent for centuries, was waking up like a sleeping giant. Lights along the walls blinked in sequence. Deep metallic groans echoed through the structure as ancient systems powered. Online, Captain Elias Ward stood at the main terminal, fingers flying across the controls like he'd never missed a day. Steam hissed from the cryopods behind them. Another Guardian stirred. Traxil backed away slowly, his heart pounding. "They're here," he said. "The council ships. 3 cruisers. Armed. They're going to breach us." Elias didn't even look up. Let them try. Traxil couldn't believe what he was seeing. This station, this ancient piece of human history, was fully operational, and now it was preparing for war. The file on Traxil's pad had changed again. Defense protocol. Earth fire status. Standby target lock. Hostile vessels by 3 AI online. Sentinel-9 a voice. Cold and calm filled the chamber. Targeting sequence initiated. "Please confirm authorization." Elias nodded at Traxil. "I do." Traxil hesitated. I'm not a soldier. You're a link," Elias said. "That's what matters. The system recognizes you. It listens to you." The pad blinked. User, Traxil Zalari, DNA match. 13% Homo sapiens authority. Level. Limited authorization possible. Traxil's hand shook. He tapped the screen. The lights turned red. Outside the station, long-dead turrets emerged from the hole. They turned silently toward the approaching council ships. Traxil looked out the observation window. The council cruisers were close now. They were preparing to fire, at least Traxil said, panic in his voice. "They'll destroy us before he could finish." The first council ship launched a missile. It streaked toward the station, glowing white-hot. The human station didn't move, but its defense system did. A blinding beam of energy burst from the turret ring. It struck the missile mid-flight. The explosion lit up the darkness. The council ship paused. Second missile launched. This time, the station moved first. 3 more beams fired. 1 hit the missile. The others didn't stop. They tore through the cruiser's hull, slicing it like paper. The ship exploded in silence. Traxil stumbled backward. He'd never seen weapons like that. Council tech was powerful, efficient, controlled. This was something else. Fast, brutal, final. The second cruiser fired back. 2 plasma bolts hit the side of the station. Alarms blared. The walls shook. Elias moved fast, hands steady. Shield is holding. Barely. This thing wasn't meant to fight alone. But it'll do. Another pod hissed open. Second human stepped out. A woman with gray eyes and a mechanical arm. She looked around, then at Elias. Status. Council ships hostile. Earth fire is online. She cracked her neck and smiled. "Let's remind them." She moved to another console and began typing. Traxil stood frozen. "How many of you are there?" Elias responded without turning. 7 Guardians were chosen, each hidden in different stations across the forbidden sectors. Each one capable of waking the others, were the last defense. "Against what?" Traxil asked. Elias finally looked at him. "Against forgetting who we were." The second council cruiser was gone, now destroyed by a precision strike to its core. Only 1 ship remained. It had stopped firing, probably trying to figure out what it was dealing with. It didn't have much time. The station locked onto it. But Elias raised his hand. "Hold fire." The AI paused, awaiting command. Traxil blinked. "Why stop?" "We need one of them to go back," Elias said. "To tell the council what's coming?" He turned to the console. A short message was sent on all standard frequencies. "To the Galactic Council, the species you buried is not extinct. We are awake. The file has been opened. Protocol Nemesis is live." The remaining cruiser began to retreat. It jumped into warp a moment later, leaving behind only silence and burning wreckage. Traxil stood in shock. He had just witnessed one ancient human weapon destroy two of the most powerful warships in the galaxy without breaking a sweat. His hands trembled. This is why they buried you. Elias nodded. They feared what we could become. The second guardian, now fully awake, spoke. It's not just about power, it's about control. The council wants order. We were never made for their kind of order. Then what were you made for? Traxil asked. She looked at him. Survival, change, chaos, if needed. That's what made us dangerous. Elias tapped the console again. The map reappeared. 7 red dots. One lit up. The others were still. Dark. He turned to Traxil. We need your help. We need to wake the others. The stations are locked behind council barriers. No human signal can pass through. But I'm not fully human, Traxil said. Exactly, Elias replied. You're the key. You're in between. The system reads you as both alien and human, so it lets you in. Traxil felt the weight of the moment settle in his chest. He had been a cadet, a nobody. Now he was being asked to restart a legacy the galaxy had tried to erase. The screen blinked again. Next station coordinates, Sector 12 Gamma status, Guardian and stasis access. Traxil required he took a deep breath. Elias smiled. Behind them, the human AI spoke again. Long-range scan complete. Council reinforcements en route. Estimated arrival, 5 hours. Recommendation: vacate sector. Elias looked out the window at the broken cruiser remains. Then he turned to Traxil. You've just seen a glimpse of what we are. The Council is going to try everything to stop us. Lies. War. Worse. But if we succeed, the second Guardian added, we won't just be returning. We'll be rewriting history. Traxil stared at the stars outside the window. One word repeated in his mind. Nemesis. He didn't know exactly what it meant, but he was starting to understand one thing. The humans had never truly disappeared. They had just waited, and now they were done waiting. The stars outside the shuttle window stretched and warped as Traxil's ship entered warp space. He sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the flickering screen. The human file was still open. More sections had unlocked after the battle. One part caught his eye. What you've seen is power. Now it's time to learn the reason. Coordinates blinked below it. He was headed to Sector 12 Gamma, the location of the next Guardian. But the screen wasn't showing a map anymore. It was playing a message. A voice, soft, older human, filled the cabin. We didn't lose the war, chose to disappear. Because we realized something the rest of the galaxy never did. Traxil leaned forward. The voice continued. They feared us because we questioned everything. Because we broke rules, rewrote systems, and made machines think. We evolved too fast, too hard, too human. A video played on the screen now, grainy, but real. A galactic courtroom, council members sitting high above. At the center stood a single human, hands bound, face calm. The screen labeled him Dr. Orion Cade, final speaker of Earth. He spoke to the council. You've put us on trial for being unpredictable. You called us dangerous. But what you really mean is that we couldn't be controlled. The crowd jeered. The judges remained silent. Traxil's heart pounded as he watched the speech continue. You erased our history, blocked our language, buried our home. But we were never trying to conquer the galaxy. We were trying to survive it. And when survival meant leaving it behind, we disappeared. The screen cut out. Silence. Traxil sat there, stunned. Everything he'd been taught, everything the council had written about humanity, was a lie. The humans hadn't died out. They had escaped, and they had done it to avoid something worse. He tapped the console. The file responded. Galactic order demanded obedience. Humans demanded freedom. The war that followed wasn't about weapons. It was about memory. Another clip loaded, this time surveillance footage. Council ships descending on Earth, bombs falling, fires rising. But there was no human resistance. No army. Just empty cities and recorded voices repeating the same message. Project Nemesis engaged. Witness the end of the visible. Remember only what you fear. Then the Earth vanished from all systems. Deleted, not destroyed. Deleted, gone from maps, from records, from artificial minds. Not with force, but with a virus. A memory virus. That was Protocol Nemesis, not just a defense system, but a system for erasing humanity from history. And it worked, until now. Traxil's ship dropped out of warp. Before him floated another ancient human structure, smaller than the last station, but glowing with faint red light. The next Guardian. He docked quickly, following the same procedure as he stepped inside. The air changed, warm, humid, like Earth's old atmosphere. If the stories were true, the lights flicked on. The voice came back. Welcome, Traxil. Your choice to continue proves you're ready. But are you ready for what the truth costs? He swallowed hard. He wasn't sure. Still, he moved forward. The cryopod was already waking. A mist hissed from its base. A tall figure stood up slowly. Inside, this time it was a man with dark skin, glowing cybernetic eyes, and a calm, steady presence. He looked at Traxil. You found us. Traxil nodded. The others are awake. Elias' station. Everything. The Council knows. Good, the man said. They should. He stepped out of the pod, named Juno Vance, weapons engineer, Earth's last war-tech builder, and maybe its last teacher. Traxil followed him into a control room. A large holographic display lit up, showing the galactic map. Hundreds of red dots. Those are the Council's memory block zones, Juno said. Every place where they erased human presence. Every system. Where they hid the truth, they covered the entire galaxy, Traxil whispered. They tried, Juno said, but they missed some of us. And now that you've activated the file, the memory virus is reversing. Traxil looked at him, confused. Dot, 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 are. The works are relit. Juno smiled. They can't stop people from remembering anymore. Even your people, Traxil. The Zelari. Your ancestors mixed with us generations ago. That's why you could find the file. That's why you were drawn to it. The truth is inside you. Traxil's hands shook. Then the Council. They've been lying to every species. Juno turned toward the screen. They've been keeping the galaxy afraid of what might happen if people think for themselves. And now, that fear is slipping. Suddenly, alarms sounded. A message appeared on the display. Council Destroyer, Class Vessel, incoming, ETA, 12 minutes. Traxil looked at Juno. They followed me? No, he said calmly. They were always watching. But now they know. You've passed the second gate. Juno turned to the control panel. Then it's time we show them something else. Traxil stepped back. Outside the station, buried under layers of asteroid rock, giant engines began to glow. This wasn't just a station, it was a ship. Juno looked at Traxil. You wanted to know what happened to humanity? Traxil nodded slowly. Then it's time to see what's next. The ship rose from the rocks, engines burning, shields activated, weapon systems locked into place. The file pinged once more. Final message from Earth Archives. We didn't lose. We left and now we return, not to conquer, but to remind them who we are. And as the Council Destroyer arrived, the human ship opened its eyes. The human ship roared to life. Stone cracked and flew from its hull as the engines fired at full power for the first time in thousands of years. The ship rose out of the asteroid field like a beast waking from deep sleep. Inside, Traxil stared. At the glowing panels, everything was smooth, silent, clean, ancient, yet more advanced than anything he had ever seen. Beside him, Juno stood at the main console, his glowing eyes scanning every incoming alert. "The Council destroyer is moving fast," he said, heavily armed. "Standard energy weapons, but they don't know what we've got." Traxil swallowed. "Are we going to fight?" Juno turned to him. "No, not yet." The ship's AI lit up again. It spoke with a quiet human voice. New connection established. Source: Deep signal relay. Unregistered node. Encryption. Human standard. Identity. Confirmed. Traxil leaned closer. "Confirmed." "By who?" The voice answered. "Message incoming." "Human signal. Direct from hidden colony." He froze. Juno raised his eyebrows. "Hidden colony." The screen blinked. A new voice came through. Female.com. Clear. "If you're receiving this, the file has been opened. That means we're no longer alone. This is Commander Layla Cross, speaking from Haven 7. Traxil stared at the words on the screen. "Humans alive. Somewhere out there," Layla continued. "What?" "We've been waiting, watching. Every time the Council deleted a name, we kept a copy. Every time they erased a language, we wrote it down. Every time they told a lie, we remembered the truth." Images loaded one by one. A forest-covered world. Towers shaped like trees. Humans, real humans, walking in sunlight. Children. Families, engineers, weapons, hundreds of ships hidden in underground bays. They hadn't gone extinct. They had simply gone dark, and now they were turning the lights back on. Traxil's mouth was dry. "How many are there?" Juno answered quietly. "More than the Council feared. Less than we once had, but enough." Layla's voice returned. "To the one who found the file, thank you. You've done more than open a record. You've reignited a legacy. We need you now. We need all of you, because the truth is coming out, and the Council will not go quietly." Suddenly, an alert blared. The Council destroyer had arrived. A massive ship, 4 times the size of Juno's cruiser, slid into view outside. It turned slowly, scanning the human ship with visible caution. Traxil's pulse quickened. "What now?" Juno looked out the window. "We wait." "The comes." Lit up. A Council voice cut through, cold and firm. "Unidentified vessel. You are violating Restricted Zone 12 Gamma. Power down your engines and prepare for boarding. This is your final warning." Juno pressed a button.
Yes.
The human ship answered. "Back. This vessel is no longer bound by Council law. We are returning what was taken. Your warnings are ignored." Long silence. Then the Council voice responded. "We were told you were extinct." Juno smiled faintly. "You were told wrong." The human file on Traxil's pad glowed again. A new section had unlocked. Stage 3. Reunion connection. Human colonies 31 status. Activating one by one. Blinking lights appeared on the galaxy map. Red turned blue. Signals long silent now returned. Across the stars, humans were waking up, and they were connected. Juno turned to Traxil. "You're the reason this is happening."
Right.
"The first to open the file, first to walk into a dead zone, and come out alive." "I didn't do anything special," Traxil said. "You listened to the truth," Juno replied. "That's all it takes to break the silence." Outside, the Council destroyer backed off slightly, not retreating, but no longer attacking. They were confused, uncertain. The ship's AI spoke one last line. Human presence confirmed. False extinction theory rejected. Status, not extinct. Status in hiding. Status, now returning. And far away, in the deepest parts of space. Other humans were already preparing for the day they would step into the light again. That day had just begun. Council Command was in chaos. Inside the Galactic High Hall, a dozen alien species shouted across the marble floor. Screens blinked above them, showing data feeds from the origin zones. Unauthorized human activity, defense satellites reactivating. HFY signal detected. Status, Protocol Nemesis confirmed. At the center of it all sat Archon Veltan, the supreme speaker of the Galactic Council. His thin fingers gripped the edge of the command table. "Impossible," he muttered. The humans were erased. Every trace deleted. Every memory locked. A Zarian admiral hissed beside him. That's what we thought. But now we're seeing signals from at least 31 human colonies. They were never gone, Archon. They were waiting. Voltan's eyes narrowed. Then he stood. Seal this chamber. No media, no civilian eyes, and no leaks. The other leaders fell silent. Projection rose from the center of the table. A face. Human. Male. Young. It was Traxil. His image came from a council surveillance drone lost 2 days ago in the Forbidden Sector. He's the one who opened the file, Velton said quietly. The hybrid? Yes, Velton answered. His blood is part human. A throwback. From before the purges, gasps echoed through the chamber. You knew? Someone asked. Velton's voice was cold. We've known for years. We kept him under quiet observation. Like others, just in case. The file survived. Another counselor growled. You should have eliminated him. No, Velton said. We needed him to lead us to the file, to trigger it. And now that he has, we know where the humans are hiding. He turned to the Zarian admiral. Prepare the fleet. We're declaring war again? Voltan's voice dropped to a whisper. We never stopped. Across the galaxy, on the bridge of the human ship Vigilant, Traxil stood. At the forward window, staring at the stars, the message from Commander Layla Cross still echoed in his ears. We were told you were extinct. We were not. He couldn't believe how fast everything was happening. 1 week ago, he was just a cadet. He was the reason humanity was coming back. Beside him, Juno monitored new signals blinking in from awakened colonies. We've got 9 more files opening, civilian archives, culture logs, even a few Earth AI systems coming online. Traxil leaned forward. So we're rebuilding? Juno shook his head. We're restoring. We never really fell. Traxil turned to him. Then why didn't you come back sooner? Juno hesitated because of the deal. What deal? Juno tapped the console. A locked file appeared on the screen. Classified Council agreement date, 4 days before Earthfall parties. The Galactic Council plus human delegate Orion Cade terms. Project Nemesis to activate condition. No survivors to reveal the truth reward. Council erases conflict from records. Punishment. Permanent exile of human species. Traxil stared. You mean, he said slowly. ... The Council agreed to let you disappear? Juno nodded. They feared what would happen if we stayed, but they feared what it would look like. If they wiped us out even more, so they made it look like we destroyed ourselves. Exactly. And you accepted that? Juno turned, eyes glowing faintly. We didn't have a choice. It was either exile, ... or extinction. For a long moment, Traxil said nothing. He thought of the stories he'd been told as a child, how humans were too violent, too wild, dangerous to exist. But none of that was true. The truth was simpler and far more terrifying. The Council lied. They hid the truth, and now they were terrified the truth was waking up. Alarms blared. A new transmission arrived, not encrypted. Not hidden. Came directly from Galactic Council Command. Everyone on the bridge fell silent as the message played. To the awakened human factions, and to the one called Traxil, you are hereby declared an intergalactic threat. You will cease all reactivation of Project Nemesis immediately. Return to Council, control, or be destroyed. There will be no second exile. Juno frowned. They're scared.
Traxil
Clenched his fists, because they know what comes next. Outside the window, stars shifted. Human ships, dozens of them, dropped from warp space. Sleek, silver, silent, hidden fleets from hidden worlds. They moved into formation around the Vigilant facing. Outward, a voice echoed over comms. To Traxil. We've heard the signal. We're ready. Traxil turned to Juno. Are we really doing this? We're not starting a war, Juno said. We're ending a lie. The AI lit up one last time. Protocol Nemesis, Phase 4, Revelation status. All systems green, fleet online. Memory virus reversal in progress, galaxy will remember. Traxil stepped forward, voice steady now. Then let's show them what they tried to forget, because humans were not the enemy. They were the buried truth. but now they were rising. The galaxy held its breath. From the outer rims to the oldest stars, a wave of something strange passed through the networks. Old systems flickered, satellites reconnected. Artificial minds, long cut off from human knowledge, whispered to themselves. In forgotten code, one phrase repeated across them all: file recovered. Origin, Earth. Language, English. Status, true. On the bridge of the vigilant, Traxil stood before the final unlocked version of the file. Its full title now revealed: Project Nemesis, the Human Exit Plan. Beside him, Juno Vance and the crew watched in silence. The file began playing. Its last message, a simple recording. A man sat in a chair, old, calm, tired. It was Dr. Orion Cade, the last human to speak at the council before Earth vanished. He looked directly into the camera. If you're hearing this, then the council's silence is broken. We're not gone. We never were. The camera zoomed out slowly. Behind him was a massive vault filled with books, AI cores, DNA vaults, and thousands of human memories. We learned the truth too late. That strength without wisdom becomes fear. That truth in the wrong hands becomes a weapon. That freedom always costs something. He paused. So we disappeared. Not because we were defeated, because we refused to become like them. He smiled. But someday, someone would. Come looking. Someone who asked the right question. Someone not afraid of the past. And that person is you. Traxil stared at the screen. He could hardly breathe. To whoever you are, remember this. We didn't leave because we lost. We left so we could return better. The screen faded, and in its place a simple phrase appeared. Humanity's future begins where fear ends. Silence on the bridge. No one spoke. Then a burst of static hit the comms. An emergency broadcast. Galaxy-wide. The Council had activated Emergency Protocol Black, the highest level of threat alert. Every species was watching. Every system listening. A live video showed Archon Velton standing in the Grand Council chamber, surrounded by leaders from a dozen alien worlds. His voice echoed across all known space. The file is active. Humans have returned. They threaten the order we've built. They bring chaos, rebellion, memory. He paused. We ask all civilizations to unite, not in war, but in control. Shut down the Nemesis systems, or suffer the consequences. And then, a second broadcast interrupted him. The screen split. On the right, Veltan demanding silence. On the left, Commander Layla Cross, speaking from Haven 7. Her voice was calm, her eyes steady. To all species watching this, you were lied to. Humans were never the enemy. We were the warning. She stepped aside. Behind her stood children, families, scientists, builders. The Council erased our history. Your questions. You deserve to know who we are, not from fear, but from truth. The signal spread faster than the Council could block it. Civilizations paused. Some resisted the Council's commands, others hesitated. And in that moment of hesitation, humanity returned. Across 100 systems, awakened files flooded networks. Messages, art, science, languages. The suppressed soul of an entire species came roaring back, not through war, but through memory. Back on the Vigilant, the galaxy map showed hundreds of blue dots blinking colonies, relay stations, AI archives, museums once hidden, now shining. Traxil turned to Juno. It's happening. Juno nodded. It's already begun. What now?
Oh.
Traxil asked. Juno looked out the window. At the stars, we rebuild. We reconnect. We remind the galaxy why they feared us and why they shouldn't have. Traxil opened the final part of the file. A new message was waiting this one for him. Traxil, the galaxy needs a new kind of defender, not just a warrior, not just a truth seeker. Someone who remembers, someone who protects what others erase. He smiled. For the first time, he knew who he was, not just part human, Not just part zealotry, but part of something older, wiser, fierce. He was a defender of the forgotten, the HFY defender. And as the stars lit up with memory and truth echoed across the void, the galaxy would never forget again. End of Part 8, series complete. Would you like help preparing the voiceover script, YouTube description, thumbnails, or story playlist next?